each and every one of you. Veronica Berrigan here, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. We're going to go ahead and get started because we have a very exciting class for each and every one of you having to do with the pretty juicy subject. How do we convert expired listings as real estate professionals into our own personal listings? So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and enable the chat on our side here so that you can chat here on the side so you can ask your questions here. I see you guys. Thank you guys for joining. And if there's any problems with my audio, you can send me a text message or you can also chat on here. Well, I guess if there was a problem on my audio, you wouldn't be able to hear what I'm saying right now, right? Welcome everyone to this wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. So let's go ahead and get started because we have a very juicy subject. Expired. It's one of my favorite type of lead generation activities. So vámonos. If you have any questions, please put them on the site as well because again, I will be able to answer them as we go. So let's get started. Dominating expireds. We are going to dominate and turn them into our own listings. So let's first talk about the characteristics of an expired listing. So basically, they own a home, right? This is a seller who owns a home. They want to sell it, exactly like the for sale by owner, right? But they are rejects of the market, and you are the hero they have been waiting for. So rejects of the market could be for many different reasons. Perhaps the agent that actually took on the listing was one of those agents that basically just put it in the MLS and prayed and hoped that it would sell, which guys, especially in today's market, we cannot do that. We have got to become marketing ninjas and use different methods of exposing the property to different types of clients, buyers, right? Otherwise, we will not be able to sell homes, especially as you get up on the higher price points, guys. If we're not really putting the work in on marketing these properties, it's going to be really hard for you to sell them. So I've noticed that most of the time these expireds actually go back because the realtor just really wasn't doing his or her job. And if you're overpricing properties, it could be a real headache too. So it's important that you actually learn to educate the consumer, educate them about the market, not what's happened in the last 18 years. What is happening now in their specific neighborhood? So it's important that we understand that these are people that perhaps may have a negative idea as to a realtor because the first realtor couldn't help them, but they're also waiting for somebody to finally get the job done right. And this is where you actually come in. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here's some quick tips for converting your expireds. So first and foremost, you gotta learn and practice scripts, guys. None of us woke up knowing exactly everything we needed to know about real estate. And although scripts may sound silly to you at the beginning, I mean, you don't want to sound like a robot, right? It's important that you practice these when you're on your own time so that they stay in your subconscious, so that when the objections do come your way, or when you don't know how to answer whatever they're telling you, these thoughts or these scripts that you have practiced are actually readily available for you to respond at it very quickly, so you sound confident and you sound knowledgeable. And we'll go a little bit more into scripts in a few seconds. Another tip for converting these expireds are offering a hassle-free cancellation. And you can take the listing agreement and say, look, if you're not happy with me in the first 10 days of our listing, you can cancel the contract with a 24-hour notice. A lot of these expireds, because they've had a bad experience with another realtor, they're not as willing to commit, to a very long contract because they want the opportunity to get out of it. If you are also that realtor that does no work on the way the other realtor did, right? And so there's a fear of commitment. So this is where you actually get to offer them this, free cancellation. You can say you can cancel with a 24-hour notice, no questions asked, and we can cancel the contract. The third thing that I'm going to say is you got to pound the pavement. Highly skilled and prepared agents will experience greater conversion rates when going door to door on expired listings. And this is just a fact, guys. I do have a testimonial from a top agent that talks about expireds and his systems and how he follows up. And one of the things, if you ask people who are working heavily on expireds, is that there's different methods of touch. I'm going to repeat this again, like I repeated at every lead generation class is that the money, guys, is going to be in the follow-up, right? So the beauty of it is that we're living in times where these follow-up strategies, which we'll get into right now, they can be really diversified. You can do calls, you can do text messages, you can do social media engagement, you can do Facebook advertising, you can do AdWorks advertising, digital advertising. But more importantly, you can show up in front of their homes. And if you're bringing valuable information, which we're going to talk about marketing right now, and the pieces that you should be using for this type of seller, then you're not selling to them, guys. And what you're doing is you're providing value through education. So never be afraid to go knock on an expired listing store. You got to be doggedly persistent. Lead generate for later. I love what Aaron Whittinson said. He's the creator of a real estate Facebook group called Lead Generation Scripts and Objections, which I would highly recommend you join. It just has a bunch of different information on the scripts people are using that are helping them convert, and as well as dealing with objections. But it's not about the first or third call, he says. It's about the 17th and 21st. So again, going back to the diversification of staying in touch and being able to have that follow-up strategy so that you are converting these. They're not going to tell you yes on the first call, and if they do, that's great, but that's a very small percentage, guys. You got to get in front of them, and you got to get in front of them consistently so that you are top of mind. And don't be afraid. 17, 21, 80 call, whatever it takes, 80 emails, but convert them. Some of them are not ready just now, and it's not that they don't like you or they don't like your pieces. It's just that they're not ready. So this is the time for you to develop that strategy, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Text or email if a prospect doesn't answer the phone. So again, diversifying your touch systems. And then hone your list of targets. I'm going to talk a little bit about this in the next couple of slides, but basically, are we really focused on a specific group of people? Or are we just trying to go over, attack all of these 17,000 expireds that are in the MLS? So basically, what this means is that if you're focusing in an area of farming, then you want to pull the expireds from that area. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Or perhaps you're focusing on, expireds that are between 500 and 600,000 in an area. Then that's a specific target. You want to have 20 to 30, maybe 40 that you can put in a list, and then you can have a strategy of follow-up strategically over and over and over again. Okay, let's go to the next slide. One second here, because I got a text message. Hopefully it's not a question. Let's see. Okay, we're good. All right, moving along. Where do we find expireds? So MLS, and I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to do that. Title companies often have lists of expireds with phone numbers. And if you really want to get good phone numbers and a consistent list, this is for expireds or for sell by owners, you can purchase a system called Vulcan 7 or Redix. Both of them will give you lists with phone numbers. It's not too cheap, but it's not something you're not gonna be using consistently. Then don't pay for it and do your own legwork. The problem with the MLS expireds is that most of them will not have phone numbers in there. So you're gonna have to do a lot of visiting. This is why we say focus on 20 at a time. So you're not actually trying to visit 100 that are expired in an area. So yes, we're gonna go after brand new expireds, but also keep this in mind. And most agents only go after brand new expired. So they'll get into the MLS, and I'll show you that right now, and they'll pull whatever went expired for the day. And they hope and pray that there's a phone number in there that an agent did not remove, because as agents, when we list a property, we may put the seller's information in there to contact them directly to show the home. But once the listing goes expired and the seller doesn't want to renew with that realtor, what the realtor does is goes back into the system, deletes the seller's information so that you as a new realtor doesn't have the opportunity to call them. And then some agents leave their seller's information in there just because they don't like their sellers and they want their seller to have 80,000 calls in the first day. Most agents will only go after the brand new ones, but I have a different strategy that I know for a fact works. You want to stay focused on a core group of expires, like I said, 20 to 30, that you can put on a consistent follow-up system. So they are more likely to have built up enough equity in their homes to turn a healthy profit by selling. If you look at expireds, that expired a year, maybe even 2 years ago, perhaps the reason that they couldn't sell was because they were at their, bottom end where they had no money, they were not profiting, and they couldn't get a realistic offer that would appraise or that the home would appraise for. So maybe after a year, those people are now ready, and you can show them that their house went up in value, which has been going, which would put you on a really good position with them. So I would get into the habit of really going back in the area of focus that I'm looking at, and looking at the expireds even a year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and seeing if they're haven't been sold and relisted. So in the end, what you're doing is you're building a relationship. You're finding out the motivation through your systems, through your follow-up systems, and you're keeping in touch until you convert, or they're not someone you want to work with. For example, somebody who their house is worth $300,000, but they want $800,000 for it. If you know that that's the case, I would continue to stay in touch. I never take anyone from my database. I never take anyone from my email campaigns. I never take anyone from my touch system unless they ask me to or I'm subscribed. And in the end, I'm just trying to educate them. When they're finally ready, or when the market has finally hit to their 800,000 mark, I'm going to be the only one that they're going to remember. So finding expireds in the MLS. I'm going to go into a quick tutorial of that. And since I'm switching screens, if you guys have any questions, please plug them in right now, and I'll go onto the site and see to make sure we don't have any questions. So if you have any questions, you can type them in right here while I open up our MLS. So in the MLS, as soon as it opens, we are going to look for our wonderful expireds. So of course, you guys all know that I love to do the full search. Most of you guys do the quick search, but I am a freak and I love the full search because it feels like it's easier to use. So I'm going to click on full search right here on the side. Now on this side, we have all of the different types of homes. We can treat an expired the same as a canceled, even if you wanted to do that. For today's purposes, let's just look at expireds. And then we're going to hit residential, expired, and then we're going to hit next. Okay, now we get into the system. It's telling us expireds. So there are 294,624 expireds in the whole MLS system. Obviously, we don't want to work on all of them. This is where I was talking about focus and honing down. So let's say that I'm focusing in the area of West Wing. The West Wing in here, there's 452 in the life. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my dates. And we're going to go to status change date. And it's pulling now from April 2016 until today, there's 8 expireds. But I want to take this back even farther. I'm going to go to 1-1. Let's go back to 2015 and see how many we get. There's 17 right there. That's a good number to start working on. That's a lot. That's 17 people that since January 1st, 2015, were not able to sell their home. So I'm going to click on view results in West Wing. And if you're focusing on a zip code again, or if you're focusing in a price point, you can add more criteria to that. But for our purpose today, I'm just going to look at everything in West Wing. It's going to give me an entire list of the 17 properties that actually went expired again. Now, when you click on the property right here, it pulls up this information over here. Now, how you can tell if it's been relisted again is if you go to the history right here, it tells you exactly what happened and where. So this particular one for 249,000 looks like it went expired on, and this is a perfect case, for example, went expired on April 20th, 2015. Then they leased it. So I'm sure what the problem was is that the value is probably not there. They're not getting what they want for the property. They leased it 11/9/2014. And now they leased it again on 6/13/2016. This is probably one that's, well, there's a tenant in there, and the tenant is, and probably the lease is going to expire, June of 2017. But I would already start marketing to it because they tried to sell it, right? They tried to sell it. So now I'm going to put them on my monthly newsletter or something that they're getting from me monthly. Why? And, we with tax records, guys, we can check the actual owner's property too. So you can look at Monsoon sometimes, and you can see who the owners are and if they have a second address where you can actually mail them. See, for us, the homeowners, although they're renting it, it gives us their address. 5645 was Gambit Trail. If you know that, if you run a comparative market analysis on this home and you find that there's value, now you can start sending them messages about this, emailing it to them, dropping it off at their house, and telling that there's value whenever they are ready to sell, that you're the go-to person and you got to stay in touch. This is why we stay in touch and we only pick a certain number of expireds to work with. So more importantly, what we're doing is we're pulling data here and we're gonna pick the ones that we're gonna stay focused on. So this is a really good example of what would be a good possibility for next year once the lease is actually up. And so you're looking at the information, and if there was a phone number, it would be down here, private remarks in this area. So contact seller, et cetera, to make appointment. Again, this one doesn't have a phone number, but if you were using like Vulcan 7, or if you were using RedX, or maybe a list from a title company, there would be a possibility that there would be a good phone number in there. Now, all of these are going to be different. So at the beginning, what you're doing is researching and finding out what's up with these properties, so that then you can build a great strategy to follow up with them. And I'll give you some ideas right now. So the next one you're going to look at, and you're going to look at the same thing, property information. This one does not have a phone number, and it's expired. So let's look at the history on this one. And it looks same situation. Here's what's happening in West Wing, guys. And this is a perfect example. All these properties were probably overpriced. They couldn't get a full price offer, and they had to go back to leasing them. And so, rent has increased, but you can create an incredible message just for this one as well. So as long as it doesn't say closed and it had a purchase price, that means that it actually sold to someone else. Or if it says active right here, then of course it's listed, and we cannot solicit other listings. For example, look at this one. It was originally listed at $279. They couldn't sell it, and it expired on January 1st, 2015. And then it got canceled. They listed at $248, couldn't sell it, so the seller probably said, he fired his realtor. Then he hired a new realtor on 5/9, and they closed it at $259. So the problem with this one from December 31st, 2014, when it ended up finally selling May 9th, 2015, was obviously the price, because look how much it ended up selling for. Now, since it's sold and it closed, I wouldn't put that on my target list because it's not an expired anymore. It actually went active and it closed. And if it's ever active, it will show active in the system. Here's one that's active, for example. I wouldn't pick this one at all. Because why? It's active right now, and we do not solicit properties that are currently active. But this agent did a really good job of converting this into their listing. It expired at 3/10 on August 25th, 2016. And then they already had a realtor lined up the very next day, probably, or the same day, because then it went live again with a brand new realtor. So that one I would not check as one of that I'd be targeting. So this is the research that you're going to have to do for your particular area. And I would start clicking on them and picking the ones after my research. And I would print myself a nice little list of the ones that I'm going to focus on. And these are the ones that I would post all over my office. And then I would put them in my Excel follow-up system so that I knew exactly what I was going to be doing for each and every one of them. I'll show you the follow-up systems right now. But let me know, do you guys have any questions right now on how to find expireds on the MLS? Any questions on that before I move forward? So let me open it up here for any questions. I don't see questions. No questions? Okay. So again, area focus, zip code. If you wanted to do, instead of a subdivision, you can do location and tax, and you can do zip code. You can do the cities. You can do anything you want. Again, focus on a few. Do not try to take over all of Maricopa County. Okay, so that's your quick MLS tour on how to find your expireds. You're not going to have as many phone numbers. If you want phone numbers, you got to use Vulcan 7 or RedX. For these, get ready to hit the pavement, go talk to them, go knock, and let's talk about the marketing that you'll bring to them in order to show your value. Okay, so first though, scripts. Everybody knows we have the book of scripts, right, guys? All of you guys either have it on CD or you actually have it printed, or I have it here if you need me to email it to you. But we have an expired script here on number 13. Again, guys, even if it sounds clumsy, you gotta practice, because We were not born realtors. I personally like the second script a little bit better. This one says, hi, I'm looking. It asks a lot of different questions, but I like this one. It's really clean. Hi, I'm looking for, and then you have their information because you can pull their data from tax records. I'm sure you figured out your home came up on our computer as an expired listing, and I was calling to see, when do you plan on interviewing the right agent for the job of selling your home? Guys, you guys think this sounds funny, but this is what agents use day after day, top producers. This is the script that they're using. And it works, it works, it works. You just got to learn it. Is it always going to go exactly like this, step by step? No, absolutely not. If they start talking to you a lot and giving you all this information, go with it. That's even more powerful. That means that they really want someone to come help them sell their home. And you can be that person to just be amicable and be sociable and be that person. But always know your script so that you know you have something to say back to. So this, I'm not going to go over all of them, but there's only 2 pages to dealing with objections and all, and also the expired script. Another thing you need to do is simply go to YouTube. I'm going to go expired listing calls. There's even a script in there. It's going to give me a bunch of realtors that are actually doing these expired calls. Why do I love this? Because now I can see real life. What happens with objections? How do these agents actually handle them? You should be listening to these in your car. You should schedule some time to actually half an hour every morning so that you're getting familiarized with the objections and the things that they're fighting you for. So another great tool to use on that. All right. So that's on scripts. Guys, I cannot tell you enough how important scripts are, and many of you guys do not time block for that. Let's time block for it every single day. Find an accountability buddy that you can work with. I know a couple of agents come into the office and actually work with each other. All right, creating a marketing strategy and a follow-up system. That's where our money is, guys. If we don't have a follow-up system, we might as well just not do any lead generation because it's not going to work. So first and foremost, let me open this sheet where I actually have an Excel sheet that helps us tremendously in deciding how to do that. So here we go. Let's see here. Sorry, guys. It's coming, I promise you. I think it is. Oh, here it is. There we go. Now it's going to open about 17 times. So let's do that. Sorry, guys. I did have it open already, but for some reason, here we go. All right. So remember, I have this handy dandy little follow-up strategy. So I have my different leads at the bottom. FSBOs expired. Same thing as with the for sale by owners, guys. Since I've already gone into the MLS, remember? We were in the MLS right now. We targeted our properties. We had the list that came up right here. So now I get to plug them in right here because those are going to be my listings. That is going to be my focus. I'm going to find out what the owner's name is. Eventually, I will get their emails, and you may have phone numbers already. And then I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to actually create a strategy as to what I'm going to deliver to them week by week. So week 1, I'm going to visit the expired listing, and I'm going to drop off my expired letter. What is that, you ask? Well, I used to use this letter day after day, and you can even Google expired letter samples and see which ones work. But the one that I use consistently that worked pretty well, and I never changed it. I would always drop off this letter as a cover letter, but then I would also change up the marketing piece that went behind it. But because I was only focusing on 20 at a time, I had the luxury of making them very, very, very personable, I'm sorry. So here is my expired letter, which I will share with all of you. That gives you an idea of what you could be doing. So the title, sometimes even the finest of homes do not sell. You don't have to do the parentheses, obviously. Since I'm focusing on 20, I would get a picture. I would either go take a picture of their home or find a picture from Google. You can find a lot of the property pictures on there. And then I would put a picture of their home right here. And then dear owner's name here. Of course, you're going to personalize it. I know how frustrating it can be to have your house not sell. I'm not here to beg you for your listing, but if you are considering listing your home again, I would love to have the opportunity to interview for the job. As realtors, we all have access to the same tools, but what matters is how well we all utilize those tools. Here are some things I do differently to maximize the tools we have. And you can make it even prettier if you want, but this always worked. I didn't really fuss with it. And then in the end, in the middle, I would talk about what my value was. You may not have this as a value proposition, but this is where you get to talk about exactly how you get, how you sell your listings. You can use our 20-step marketing plan to get ideas because it tells you exactly how you market to get them sold. So you can personalize this to your particular team or whatever it is you're doing, or just use this if that's exactly what happens during your marketing. Easy exit guarantee, I talked about that. No contracts, what that means is, again, put it in the listing agreement that seller can cancel contract with 24-hour notice. That way they feel like there's no commitment issues. And much more. I mean, you can personalize this however you want. The most powerful thing that I thought was always that I was personalizing with their photo. I was handwriting the envelopes, and I was actually door knocking the homes. I was not just mailing them. I was actually showing up. And then you always have to have a clear call to action. So you're always going to send them to your website and give them, to request your free market analysis or your free 5-step guide to selling your home, whatever it is you're offering them. You got to drive them to your website, because let's say they were not home. They may not call you right away, but I bet you anything they're going to research you, and they're going to also go to your website just to see what you're all about. So use something like this as a consistent, branding mechanism. So use the cover letter always. The only thing that's going to change would be the actual marketing pieces that you'll attach as the weeks progress. So week 1, visit the expired and drop off that letter. Week 2, mail the expired letter with the seller's advantage. That's a powerful, powerful tool, guys. It's in our research center, and it actually gives the seller a map and a flyer and a map. It's a flyer that has a map with how many people are actually looking for homes in their area again already. Let me see if I can just get over here. There you go. So bhhsresearch.com. Log in. And then seller advantage. And the reason these are very powerful is because they're personalized as well. Manage my sellers. Create a new report. This is for your listings. Create a new report. And now you get to plug it in here. Without a map, of course you want it with the map. And click next. Oh, I'm sorry. You have to put the information in here. I'm sorry. So first name, last name, email address. If you don't have an email address for them yet, just use your email so that it comes to you. Property address, very important. You would just pull it from the MLS, whatever that is, and city, state, and zip code, and the estimated price. It won't actually plug that in there, so you don't have to do a CMA first. But just you can even put the number in there that was on the expired listing. And then it will take you to that beautiful report that will show how many buyers there are already looking for homes within this particular person's home. Why is that important? Because the seller always wants to know that you know who the seller or who the buyer is going to be on their home. So you're just diversifying your touch systems by providing these key tools that we already have for you. There's hundreds and thousands of, there's actually hundreds of templates that you can pull from Impact Marketing. It doesn't always have to be what I tell you right here. Just decide for a seller which ones fit. And most importantly, stay on the treadmill. You got to keep the follow-up. You got to keep it up. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So mail the expired letter with the seller's advantage. And maybe the third week, you're going to visit the expired letter and marketing plan. And fourth week, you're going to mail it again with the seller's advantage. I'm just giving you some ideas. Mail a CMA request form, mail global network. It's your responsibility to go into Impact Marketing and to pick, 10 different pieces that you want to send to this particular seller. Remember, it's just seller focused. So there's many, many pieces out there that you can actually fit. What I would keep is definitely that same cover letter over and over again so that they're remembering and branding. But you can do holiday stuff. You can send them notepads, you can send them calendars, whatever your little heart desires. But more importantly, is just staying in touch and developing that strategy. Now, does it always happen this way where you're just continually mailing or no, sometimes, by week 3, they're like, okay, come on in and let's have a listing appointment. Are you going to continue to put them on an expired campaign? No, of course not. Now you're going to convert this into an actual listing, take them off your list and add a new one so that you can start the campaign with them. That's the thing about follow-up, that this is all about learning their motivation. It's about developing a relationship. Our only goal with this follow-up campaign is to get an appointment, to get in front of them. The rest will fall perfectly, right? Maybe by week 4, they're ready to meet with you, or week 5. And now you got to bring your listing presentation and get ready for that. But you have to, if you're going to be targeting expires, you have to have a strategy as to how you're going to follow up. You have to have a targeted list as to who you're going to be following up with, and you got to execute, period. You got to execute, otherwise it ain't going to work. Okay, let's go back. Any questions on that at all? Really quick. Let me go back to questions. Okay, no questions yet. Moving right along. So that's our follow-up system. So here's a real life testimonial. The money is in the follow-up. For new expireds, what this means is agent testimonial. This is an actual agent testimonial on a follow-up. When sending a direct marketing piece, it's like a billboard because you're calling them and your mailers supplement your efforts. So think of it as like a huge billboard in the city of Peoria. This is a real life agent sharing his experiences with follow-up. The system I have in place is 9 touches in 2 months for every new expired that comes off the market. So this is for brand new expired. This is not for going back to like a year or 2 years old. And you can still use this system even for people a year and 2 years old, but this is his strategy. First is an intro letter that includes 3 testimonials. So it's a little bit different than my intro letter. If you don't have any testimonials, use my intro letter. But he's closed deals, so of course he's going to put his testimonials on there. An expired listing that I sold. If you don't have that, don't worry. You can put a regular listing that you sold, or you can also, if you don't have that, then skip that process. The days on the market the first time, the days on the market when I took it, and on hand, and a handwritten letter. So handwritten is much more powerful, like I said. So once you actually convert one and sell it, that's going to be your testimony. That's going to be your biggest draw to get them to actually work with you, because they're going to know you're an expired pro. Then send them a jumbo postcard of an expired home I sold, how many days it was on the market, how long it took me to sell it, and review from the former homeowners of their experience with me. So that's powerful. Once we get one converted, guys, that's the testimony we need to use over and over again. And then send 4 of these mailers back to back, 5 mailers in a row in the first 5 days. Then they will get a mailer from me once a week for the next 5 weeks. Expired listings get hit hard with mailers in conjunction of me calling them. So I think the key here is that if you have a phone number, you've got to call them. Do not be afraid. If they tell you flat out, never call me again in my life, fine. Take them off your list and add a new one. But you can't be afraid of calling, because they are rejects of the real estate market. They are waiting for someone to actually list their homes. And as you research, you're going to see that most of them go back to getting listed almost immediately, especially if it's something that's priced right. If they're overpriced, it may take some time, right? But again, you're the one that's staying in touch. Oops. All right. So picking your marketing pieces, and we were just talking about this. I went over Seller's Advantage. We have a 20-step marketing plan that we have for you. It talks about what you're going to do to actually sell their home. It's beautiful, and we actually have one for the luxury. We have the Collection magazine. I love that magazine. It's free, guys, and you can pick it up here, and you can go drop it off at their home and say, by the way, did you know we actually put your listing in this magazine? I do this for you at no extra charge to you, and you're doing this for them for free, guys. We as a Berkshire company put all of your listings in this wonderful magazine that gets distributed to all of the AJs in the Valley. So this is awesome marketing for them. We have opportunity door hangers where you can customize them for expireds, or you can just get labels and put on there, we know your home didn't sell. Please call us to get information about how we sell expired day to day, or whatever you want to use, a label that you can slap on there that would be relevant to their message. Letterhead, I showed you the letterhead I use. You can also look, literally, you can go to expired letters and Google it, and you will get 40 different samples from people that use. Most of them are going to be, most agents get stuck here because they're like, well, which one's better? Which one's the other? You know which one's better? The one you do consistently. That's the one that's better. It's like an open house. When is a good time to do an open house? On the weekend. Anytime is a good time to do an open house on the weekend. It's about being consistent and actually doing the work. Let's look at letterhead farming flyers. We have those for you in the VAC system and in impact marketing, and your expired letter, my expired letter that I just showed you, which is this one, which you can customize specifically to them. So yes, it takes a lot of legwork at the beginning. You're dealing with 20 properties, you're personalizing, but then you're done. Then it's just about the follow-up and getting to them and getting it to them. So we got to develop our strategy. We got to pick the top 20 expireds to target, and we got to determine our touches and method of delivery. And the only way we could do that, guys, is if you pull up something as simple as Excel, go to the MLS, plug them in here, and then develop that strategy right here. Where are you going to get ideas? From the impact marketing side and from all of the things that I've shared with you today. All right, this was actually a pretty fast one. So do we have any questions at all on how to convert expired listings into, expired listings into your own listings? Let me go back to the questions to make sure we have no questions. Any questions, guys, at all? Ooh, 444. It looks like we don't have any questions, so that's pretty good. I know I went through this one pretty quickly, guys. There's going to be a replay on this on the Facebook group page, so check it out there. But like I said, these are people that have already raised their hands, guys. They're ready for the realtor to come and help them. And don't just focus on the ones that just expired today. Go back to your area of focus, even a year to 2 years, and do your research. It's going to take a little bit of research, but let me tell you that it's very much worth it. So thank you so much for being part of this webinar today. I will post the replay link on our closed Facebook group page. And of course, please do not hesitate in reaching out to me so we can develop a strategy and I can help you get clarity on how to convert these expireds into your listings. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great evening, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.